Hello everybody, how's it going? Welcome to my review of One Piece chapter 1083. And honestly, I have mixed opinions about this chapter, and I'll explain as to why that is as we go along. But let's start off with the cover page. And this is how you know it's a cover request, because we see Doflamingo with a chicken, or at least a chick, and he's got a bandage to patch it up. Also, he's using this coat as a nest, which is pretty cool. But like I said, this is how you know it's a cover request, because there's no way Doflamingo's character would do this. Well, it feels like a parallel to the cover story we got with Crocodile. Crocodile covered a dog with an umbrella to shield it from getting wet with the rain. And Doflamingo and Crocodile are very, very similar. Which, by the way, the last time we saw Doflamingo, he was in level 6 of Impel Down, apparently being targeted. Now, we don't know who he was targeted by, but we know Magellan was there. I'm pretty sure we're going to get the reveal of the Zephyrian version of Doflamingo. But we start off the chapter with the return of Sabo. Oda looked like he was going to spill the beans what happened to the Reverie, because the first thing Sabo's declared here is like, we took care of 3 objectives. One of them doesn't really matter anymore, in the form of they got Kuma back because he's literally returned to Morojose. But the other 2 they managed to take care of. They declared war on the Celestial Dragons, and they also destroyed the Celestial Dragons symbol and managed to get away. Ivankov, Dragon and Sabo talking about this. And the most important thing to them, at least, or at least in the words of Ivankov, is the food supplies, the rich lifestyle that the Celestial Dragons have, more or less has been taken away because they've destroyed the food supply, so they can't live the glorious lifestyle anymore. So that's one of the things that gets brought up. But this invasion triggered apparently 12 nations. I'm assuming they took part in the Reverie. 8 of them were successful at actually being influenced by the Revolutionary Army. We know one of them was the Lucia Kingdom, because obviously we saw that's where we first saw the Revolutionary Army commanders. Just makes sense, and in fact Ivankov brings that up. But one of them vanished in the form of the Lucia Kingdom. This is where Ivankov brings up the whole incident about the Revolutionary Army attacking the government supplies that carries all over the world. They live off that, but now they can't because of the attack. So, and we get a very, very sinister panel of Ivankov, like how the tables have changed, because now they're the ones living on poverty and hunger. I kind of want to know his backstory, because that seems like a very personal detail to kind of blurt out with this panel. Usual Ivankov, yeehaw, back on track, and this is to me at least the most important part of the entire chapter, because it's taking place in present time. We may not have been able to call off all the supplies, but by squeezing them a little bit, they must be struggling. But then Dragon brings up the most important part. It's like, as expected though, they're not a foe who will just take this line down. Our real battle will begin once they mobilize. We get a panel of Dragon saying the God's Knights, and of 9 knights in the background. It's clearly 9 knights, which I'll get back into that in a minute, because I think that's a lot of people. It's obviously foreshadowing. Obviously, the fact that Dragon is hyping them up. These are not chumps. They're not small timers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had Dragon mention this. Even Koff kind of foreshadows, hey, you're going to be public enemy number 1, Sabo, because you caused a lot of problems. But this is where things get real serious, because it's like, even though he's aware of what happened to King Cobra, I think we can live with the way it played itself out. That's kind of cold, but at the same time, it's all about business with the Revolutionary Army. They want to take it down, the world government, or most importantly, the Celestial Dragons. Because Sabo is given the news article of him apparently assassinating King Cobra. So we get a flashback to a month ago at the Reverie. We know the Admirals clash Revolutionary Army commanders. Now, what's important here is apparently Sabo was not involved in that battle. The rest of the Revolutionary Army commanders, which is by itself is very impressive when you consider the fact that it was Green Bolt and Fujitora. But we see the symbols already been destroyed. We see the Celestial Dragons making a run for it. We see a pirate who was much similar to Kuma was actually being treated as a slave, the Celestial Dragon was telling him to move faster than me, but then he actually gets off and actually tries to shoot him. Karasu stops that, and we actually get some insight into his abilities, or at least his devil fruit. The Celestial Dragon's gun gets taken away from him from Karasu's ability, or at least a crow from Karasu, and we get to find out that his coat is made from the suit is a suit logia, so that's actually pretty cool because the suit is actually what gets clogged up in the chimney. So if it's not exactly the healthiest job out there. It could be very, very dangerous, especially if you inhale too much of suit. It'd be kind of cool to see Karasu actually, if he actually does this and somebody actually accidentally inhales too much and they end up dying, because that could cause a lot of problems. So anyway, he ends up saving this pirate and ends up getting blasted by a bunch of agents. Doesn't work because he's a logia, so we know it's not going to work. But then it looks like that Fujitora shows up, because after Karasu deals with them, Ebony's suit, which is actually a badass attack, takes care of the agents. Then Fujitora pulls up, and then we get Karasu versus Fujitora, and then elsewhere we got Morley versus Green Bull. Lindbergh's a distance away from where the action's taking place, so Lindbergh's taking care of all this, freeing all the slaves that was held captive by the celestial dragons. So Karasu attacks with Recon at Fujitora. So speaking of which, we go to Ryugakyu and Morley, and Morley's actually using his ability to come up from the ground. So it's actually pretty obvious what's going on here, because Oda's making this pretty clear that they're being nerfed here because of where they're at. But Morley uses his ability to come up from the ground. He uses his spear to decapitate one of Green Bull's arms, but then pierce his other. And then Fujitora is about to use his ability to bring down a bunch of meteors. Green Bull's like, yo, that's a terrible idea, especially here at Merijose. So then you see a shot of the former agents of CP9. I guess that agents of Cypherpole, but I don't know if they're still CP9. Doesn't really state, because we know who's a part of CP0. They're bringing up the whole situation about 2 admirals and no pushover. That'd be enough manpower to turn the battlefield upside down, but because of where they're at, they can't go all out. So that's kind of an out when it comes to the admirals, and the fact that for all intensive purposes, the Revolutionary Army commanders got the better of them. And if this was Dragon's order, if this was Dragon's plan, because he knew the admirals wouldn't go all out, that was actually pretty smart on Dragon's end, because it worked, because it allowed them to not only actually deal with the admirals while Sabo, where he is pursuing Kuma, and we know that Charlos and his father is pretty much, he's actually recovered from being hit by the other celestial dragon, and he hasn't given up, and apparently he's still after Shirahoshi, which I'm going to get into. This is why I've mixed the feelings about this flashback here. So we see Shirahoshi in one panel, and in the next we see Barney running, and she's thinking about her father. Now what's interesting about this is, back at the Reverie when we saw Barney, it kind of dumbfounded us as to why she was there. And second of all, the fact that they both hailed from the Kingdom of Sorbet. We didn't really know the connection. Now we know what's up, because she's thinking about Father Kuma. So it's kind of interesting, but at the same time it's okay, we know Barney was there, and she was going to reveal something about what went down at the Reverie at the beginning of this Vegapunk arc, where she was like, oh no, maybe I was going to tell her spoil the beans anyway, but maybe I'll wait until later on. Maybe is this the reason why Oda didn't have Barney reveal this, is because he was waiting to reveal this on his own with Sabo. But the thing is, you just reveal that Barney is a part of this, unless he happened to run into her. Because I'm assuming, because Barney was just as upset, if not more upset, than Kuma, that Kuma was a slave for the Celestial Dragons than Sabo was. She was tearing up. She was like, I'm not going to forgive him for this. So we know the connection. So there has to be a reason why Oda's including Barney in this panel, because we already seen that Barney was at the Reverie. So why would you reveal that if it's not going to become important? And if it's not going to lead to Barney spilling the beans, I still think she could tell the Strats what went down. We cut away and we have Vivi being, attempted to be escorted by Rob Lucci. She wants nothing to do with it. She's like, I'd rather have Garp's help than you. And then Lucci's like, oh, don't worry, I'll keep you safe. And I love Vivi for this, because she literally calls out Lucci, yo, you tried to protect Shirahoshi. Oh wait, you failed. You didn't, because that Celestial Dragon was going to kidnap her. And Vivi's intuitive enough to realize that Creep's still probably going to go after her. We see Cobra and we see Pell and Shaka. This is where Cobra makes a huge mistake, because he's like, yo, you can go off and attend to Vivi, watch out. It's like he knew something was going to go down. sending them off. Like, it's okay. You can go attend to Vivi. She's always been a mischievous one. You can't let her out of your sight for a second. I feel like he knows more than he's letting on, which is why he's sending off Chakra and Pell to go attend to Vivi. Because this turns out to be a huge mistake, because whatever happened to Cobra, he had no backup. So obviously that's how the chapter ends, and we know he's requesting an audience with the Gurusei. So I definitely didn't expect this chapter to be a flashback into what happened into the Reverie. Like I said, I have mixed opinions about this, because on the one hand, it's cool we're getting some substance of what happened to the Reverie. My issue is the timing of this flashback, because I don't know if you remember or not, but we're in an arc called the Egghead Island arc, and to my knowledge, it's still going on. Unless this was a last minute change, that's the only thing I can think of. Like Oda thinking, no, I've got to do this now, because whatever happens next is going to take a lot of time. I don't have a problem with Oda revealing, because I think we all know he has to wrap up certain plot points. There's questionable ways that he's gone about this, because he could have at least shortened the whole mystery about the Zephyrian being commanded by a traitor. I think you could have peeled that down from 4 weeks to 2 weeks of suspense. And the other reason why I have mixed opinions about this is because there's no, outside of Cobra being assassinated and the word about the empty throne not being empty, about Ima-sama's existence being mentioned to Dragon, nothing else really matters, because we know half of the cast that matters actually get away from Murajose. We know Shirahoshi gets escorted back to Fishman Island. We know Vivi survives, makes it out. She wasn't captured. She was with Morgan's news. I'm kind of wondering if he has a play, if he's the one that got Vivi away, because that just felt so random. We know Sabo got away, but he was framed, and we also know the body made it out. So there's no tension there outside of whoever assassinated King Cobra. That's it. Like I said, the biggest part of the chapter, to me at least, is the reveal of 9 of God's Knights that was revealed by Dragon. Like, that was done by complete design by Oda. The fact we got 9 silhouettes, and the fact that Dragon's trying to hack them up. Future potential showdown with the Straw Hats. You got 9 Straw Hats, and then you got Luffy going up against Ima-sama. I think that's how you would interpret that. That's how I see it. Because why would there be 9? The other thing to note here is, and this to me is like, could be huge, significant when it comes to, like, okay, the fact that Dragon's hyping the God's Knights up, then, like I said, they're not scrubs. And the fact that one of them, a lot of people seem to think that one of the silhouettes resembles Shanks. It could be the case. It was a silhouette similar to Shanks, because we know where Shanks is at right now. So it could be a clone. It could be somebody related. We don't know. There's a lot about Shanks we don't know. It could be another case, because there's going to be a lot of hype with the God's Knights now. The fact they're going to be the Royal Knights of Ima-sama. They're not going to be a pushover. And Dragon says, once they mobilize, that's it. So the real battle will begin. And keep in mind, we have, like, Saturn, a member of the Gorosei, making his way to Egghead Island along with Kizaru. That implies to me that the Gorosei aren't going to be a matchup in the future for the Strats, which I don't really mind either way. The fact that people think that one of the silhouettes resembles Shanks, it could be the case. Now, I have a theory about this. Is it possible that some of the Yonko were duplicated, kind of like how we got the Zephyrian pacifistas, the clones of the Shichibukai? So I would not be shocked if it turns out that some of the previous Yonko were cloned, and some of them are in this God's Knights, because I find it very hard to believe that Oda's going to all of a sudden introduce 9 new characters, and one of them is going to resemble Shanks. Now, that may not even be Shanks, we don't know. It's going to be like the Vegapunk 6 situation, where we have to know that one of them was a traitor, alright, and Oda wasn't going to introduce somebody new at this point. Like, maybe there's a few clones of some of the previous Yonko. Maybe there's a clone of Kaido, which would be terrifying, but I can see it happening. And if you look closely, it looks like one of the silhouettes does have horns. So I don't know. I'm just saying. And the fact that Dragon's hyping it up, this is going to be some crazy stuff. So I don't know if we're going to get them revealed later on down the road. Other than that, it's cool. We got the reveal of the Gods Knights. I'm sure people are going to go apeshit over this, making theories for days. Like I said, the fact that the 9 is not a coincidence. That's going to be a potential matchup against the Strauss, I'm sure. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Like the review if you did a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Subscribe to for more One Piece. Catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Bye.